and he was like chasing the females around and getting in their faces. And then once the two of the females hid in their little huts, he was just pacing back and forth all afternoon because I took the day off so I could work on a essay that I have due in a couple days. So what he was pacing all afternoon, what is that about? What's going on?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a good question. This is the time of year when they're supposed to be paired up for breeding. So, I mean, it could just coincide with like a little bit more of an active season because they are slower throughout the summer. So what you might just be seeing is that they're waking up too and getting ready to be more active. I don't know. They're a lot of fun. So I always say most of my animals lay eggs in like July-ish, but it starts in late May, early June. And it really picks up in July, and I have a crazy July, and then I get some eggs in August, but it starts to trickle down, especially in late August. But then that's when the spider tortoises start, and then by the time they're stopping in the winter, that's when the Egyptian tortoises pick it up. So if you keep spider tortoises and Egyptians, they round out the year for all of the animals that you would be breeding. So if you keep those two and another species, now you've got eggs all year, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, okay. And as far as I know, the little male is only about 1 year old. So is that, I would still start seeing some interest in him regardless, or maybe it's just an instinct. He's not quite ready.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess that it's breeding behavior, but I just think it's active season and he happens to be the one that's running around a little more. So you're seeing a pickup in activity.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen stuff where small animals, tortoises and turtles, are mounting, it's a male mounting a female just like they would as adults, and they're very, very small, and it looks every little bit like, that type of behavior. But I mean, puppies have legs too.
It's likely tied to territorial or.
He's yawning already.
Display.
Yeah.
So we're 2 minutes in. He's yawning already. I love it. Don't let us put you. For anyone who's watching, Steve wakes up very early. Like he wakes up at like 2 a.m. and gets his day started.
Not that early, but yeah, I'm up.
Doesn't drink coffee.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Me either.
Hi, everyone.
Really?
Yeah. No.
What? Leah, so you drink coffee?
Oh yeah, like
okay.
an
So
unhealthy amount of coffee.
You're the only one. Okay. Yeah. You drink enough coffee for the four of us.
Yeah, probably.
That's funny. Hi guys, we see you in the chat. Thanks for joining. We're going to start the roll in here in a moment, but just thought we'd chat. Yeah, so that's fun, Emily. You're such a turtle person, Em.
I know. Isn't this great?
It's beyond great. I can't even believe. I can't even express how great it is.
I've got 2 eggs left to hatch. 2.
Ooh.
I'm actually surprised they haven't hatched yet because their clutch mate came out on Saturday. So they should pip any minute now if they haven't already. So since I checked this morning, I'll check them again this evening before bed. But
what species?
2 left. Yellow blotched. What else?
I know.
They start, they end. Like record number of eggs from a female, record number of clutches from a female. All It's been a big year, yellow blotched. I think it'll be 42 yellow blotched alone, which is total turtles I hatched last year.
That's pretty amazing.
Wow. What's your total number so far?
No, that's just yellow blotch would be 42. The total this year, when these 2 hatch, will be 91.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Like I said, my last year was 42. This is more than double last year, and a single species is meeting last year's total. So it's
that's incredible.
It's a lot.
And last year was your best year ever.
Right. Last year was my best year ever, and I more than doubled it this year, it's just bonkers.
That's so great.
Wow.
And people may not realize that it's all relative. Some people hatch, a couple animals, and that's it. I mean, it's any turtle hatching out an egg is so exciting for nerds like us. But then there's people that hatch thousands and thousands. So it really depends what species you're working with and what your situation is. But if you're a baseman in the Northeast, pushing 100 hatchlings is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Steve Chris says you have an army.
Yeah, he's got some of them.
Yeah.
He's just being
send those soldiers everywhere.
He just likes you because you have yellow blotch maps. That's all. That's not true.
Give them away like Halloween candy, baby.
All right, roll us in.
Trick or treat.
Give me me something good to eat.
Welcome to the Pondcast, the turtle room show, where the hearts are cold and knowledge flows. Turtles, tortoises, and conservation too. Stories of the wild brought right to you. Research, rescue, education galore. Saving wildlife is what we're here for. With Aunt Fanny, Steve, and Emily, it's turtles, it's tortoises, and all things herpetology. Pondcast,
I'm telling you, I feel it.
It's October,
Yeah.
baby.
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
I'm gonna roll this in. We didn't talk. Normally we have a plan for who's gonna start us off. I'm gonna do
No.
it. Ready? Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Pondcast.
Woo!
Hi Terry, thank you so much for that. Terry just gave a super chat donation,
Thanks,
and she
Terry.
also said she was so sweet, but she also said that she doesn't think anyone else could match that. So I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Terry is definitely competitive. Thank you so much, Terry. Really.
Thank you,
And
Terry.
thank you all for joining us for episode 126. It's amazing. 126.
Wow.
And we are here, as always. I'm joined by Emily and Steve, and we've got a really fun show for you today. We've been talking at least for about a year and a half about having Lance Paden on with us. And Lance, hi, Lance.
Yeah.
Great to have you with us, man. And we've been
Appreciate
talking
it.
about having him on for about a year and a half. And Lance is a true boots on the ground, bona fide turtle hero, and he does all sorts of things to make the world a better place for turtles. And he's the type of person that a young budding turtle, wannabe turtle hero should aspire to be like. So we're going to talk to him today about the work that he does and his journey to become who he is today, and what he's looking to accomplish in the future as well. So really excited to be here and to be chatting with everyone. So without further ado, I'll shut up. Lance, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. Been looking forward to this.
Emily, you're up first. Let's go.
Me, I'm up first. Well, how about tell us about those boots on the ground?
Yeah, okay. So I imagine we want to hear about Madagascar is kind of what I'm getting.
We're jumping right into it.
Oh yes, deep dive.
Yeah, so I've been going over to Madagascar since 2022, I think was the first time I went, as a part of TSA's reintroduction program. So I am one of the two consulting biologists for the project that are trying to do our best to make sure these radiated tortoises are getting put back into the right areas and they're going to thrive once they're released, basically. So I've had a lot of crazy experiences over there, and Madagascar is something else. There's something about it. It's wild.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. I want to ask you all about Madagascar and what it's like. Part of me wants to go, and part of me is like, I don't know if I'm going to fit on the little puddle jumper planes that have to take you there, where you have to like weigh how much water you're bringing, and I weigh as much as like 4 adults. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'd make it work.
We make it work. That makes me feel
We'll
good.
strap you to the wings.
That makes me feel good.
There's no
strap
such
me to the landing gear.
thing as a can't-do attitude over there. So
I like that. And that means a lot because Lance and I recently met in person for the first time, so he knows what I'm talking about, how big I am. Try to fit me into a plane. Yikes. Yeah, that's just terrific. The question I want to start with, though, before we really get into the ins and outs of what it's like to be in Madagascar, spend time there, is tell us about your background and like how you find yourself in a place where you have an opportunity for the first time to go there on behalf of TSA. Like, what are they looking for, and how did that happen?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And just talking with you before this, you kind of prepped me with a little bit of that question to think about. And I've been thinking about it for 3 or 4 days now. And it's I don't even have a good answer for myself, much less like how it happened to tell as a story. Cause it's just like all these crazy series of events from just growing up with a family that was super supportive. Like so many of turtle room supporters have been like just around turtles their whole life. I cannot think of a time in my life that turtles were not some major part of my family. And I think that probably played as much of a role as any of the like professional training and stuff I've done kind of along the way. The passion has basically paved the whole way for me. And it's kind of crazy. So
do you have a degree and like a body of work that you were doing that on your, like, what's on your resume that helped you in that regard as well? Just thinking about the young people at home who, what do I want to go to school for? What do I want to be when I grow up? Because I want to be like Lance and get to go to Madagascar and be a real turtle hero.
Oh.
Sure. I mean, I was really big into keeping turtles and monitors and other lizards and stuff all kind of growing up and through high school and even college. And then I just got involved with my college advisor, and she had this really awesome program that was sending a group of students like every 2 years to Costa Rica for an experience working with the Archie Carr nesting beach at Tortuguero. And I went and talked to her as a freshman and was like, I want to be a part of this class. Like, she's like, basically only seniors get in here and only the really good seniors. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be in this class next year. So just harassed the heck out of Anne until she was like, oh my gosh, yeah. So got in as a freshman with her, went down, had time of my life in Costa Rica, helping out with, I think we tagged 97 green turtles in one night as part of a tagging blitz that we did. And I just had a lot of fun that trip, which led into working eventually at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. I worked for the Oriane Society, tracking indigo snakes for a bit in Florida. I knew I wanted to go to grad school eventually. So my undergrad degree was in just general biology and chemistry, because that's kind of, those two go together. But I knew I wanted to do something reptile conservation based for grad school. So kind of got in with the Kimberly Andrews at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. They had a applied wildlife conservation lab at the time through the University of Georgia. So I did my graduate degree at the Odom School of Ecology, and that was working with gopher tortoises at a heavy mineral mine site in Georgia. So that project it turned into the biggest translocation project for gopher tortoises in Georgia's history. And as far as I know, it's still the largest one. So I was working on that and just had my hands in a lot of other turtle research projects kind of all over the country, helping with TSA as a volunteer as I could throughout those years. So,
are you still in contact with that first? I can't remember. This was college when you went as a sophomore and went to Costa Rica?
Yeah.
So
that was like 2009.
Are you still in contact with that professor by any chance?
Occasionally, yeah.
That's cool.
I think she just retired maybe 2 years ago.
I just think about that too. Like, we talked about the young kid who wants to grow up and be a turtle hero, but what about the person who's been doing this a long time? And a lot of times it can feel like thankless work, or that nobody recognizes the effort you're trying to make in the world. And then here comes this student who fights his way into a class earlier than he should be able to take it, but then is going on, and again, being a real turtle hero and continuing that work far beyond just a cool class that you could be a part of, right?
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Anne was amazing. And there have been just so many people like that I've met over the years that have, I got to work with Dr. Terry Norton that founded the Georgia Sea Turtle Center for 5 years. And he is an incredible turtle veterinarian, awesome person. He really encouraged me to get involved with TSA at the time. So that's one thing led to another. And I went up there to help him with some surgeries. And within 10 minutes of getting to the TSC in South Carolina, they handed me a Cora Joey to hold while they're doing debridement of its, like, a patch on its spine, basically. Meanwhile, Chris Hagen's like, oh, this is one of couple males in the country. And I'm like, oh my God, my hands are shaking. So
I still haven't seen one in person.
yeah, so
It's pretty cool.
that was pretty cool. Yeah. It's been a lot of standing on the shoulders of giants sort of thing that's led me to where I've gotten to so far.
It's wonderful.
So you started out by volunteering. What did they have you do for the first few years as a volunteer?
Well, I used to go to a lot of the NAFTR programs that they have down in Florida, doing the wild freshwater turtle samplings. And then when I was an AmeriCorps member, when I worked at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center, because they had an AmeriCorps program that was like you work for a year and get a grant to help pay off student grad loans or grad school or whatever. So I did that, and I was taking small groups of people that wanted to go volunteer at the Turtle Survival Center to help build enclosures and stuff. I think we helped with one of the Cora complexes, the Sulawesi greenhouse, dug a bunch of trenches with John Green one day. So it was a good time.
That's really cool. I was just able to see that and see the fruits of some of that labor about a week and a half ago for Turtle School. It was absolutely amazing. Over the last few months, I've been able to see some of what TSA does through a different lens, and I have been so impressed. And there have been a lot of organizational changes and a lot of organizational growth in the last couple of years. And it's been really amazing to see what the TSA is becoming. I don't know. I don't know if others have seen it, or, keep your eyes open, everyone, for what they do going forward, because I think there's a lot of really good change happening. And I'm really excited to see all that they accomplish in the coming years. I have another question. And also we have a little bit of housekeeping that we had to bring up as well. So I'll do it here. Lance mentioned that he started off keeping, and Lance, you still keep turtles?
Yeah. Still keep turtles.
See that, guys? So that's we've got a lot of people here, viewing and in the chat that may not realize, there are these really great people out there that kind of are on both sides of the aisle and have a little bit more of an understanding for what it means to be a private keeper. Now, it's a slippery slope because a lot of times the private keeping side has a really bad rap for being closely tied to the illegal pet trade and all that sort of thing. But for that reason, we need to really keep things. We need to keep things above board and as legal and as good for the animals and as good for the environment and everything else as possible. So just keep that in mind. We have to do it better. But I wanted to call out that, and one of the things that we need to do for housekeeping is mention that there are 2 conferences coming up that we will be attending, and I implore you to do the same thing. The first starts on Halloween, and that's in Southwest Florida. That's called Herpeton. They're going to have their 3rd year this year, and that's a great conference that brings in a mix of kind of academia, and they also have a captive conservation arm as well that's part of that. So if you're in the area, if you're going to be in South Florida around that time, please come and say hello. I'll be there. I'm speaking at that conference. And then also,
let me toss something in there real quick.
Go ahead, Steve, please.
There is limited availability to get to Herpeton. They have a hard max due to the space and size of the facility, which is bigger than where it was last year. It's in a different place, but they still have a hard cap. So if you're interested in going, you got to get yourself registered as soon as possible. Otherwise, you may not be able to attend. We are the primary sponsor of the conference as well. So get yourself there. You'll get a little grab bag with some things from the Turtle Room in it, including some new bookmarks nobody's seen yet.
Woo! Thanks, Steve. You're so good. And then the other one I wanted to call out too is this TTPG is just a couple weeks after that in Mesa, Arizona. That is the premier get-together for turtle keepers, certainly in the United States. So if you're in the area and or available, that is an affordable conference, and it is a great opportunity to get together with like-minded people. And there are even people like Lance that go, who are maybe biologists who also have a bit of an affinity for keeping turtles as well, and do a good job of kind of bridging the gap between the two. So anyway, just wanted to call that up. And we have one more bit of housekeeping that we'll bring up later. But anyway, Lance, talk to me about that. Talk to me about that kind of being in both areas. You attend the symposium. I met you at the symposium officially in person, and you're someone who's there who could certainly empathize, sympathize with the keeper's perspective. It was my first time at the symposium, and I'll be honest, I wondered how well like the private keeper would be received there, right? Because I do think there are people at that symposium. I know there are people at that symposium who are anti-turtles in captivity. So do you feel that too, as somebody who's kind of in both realms, that like I'm going to be a little more likely to talk about my field work than my private keeping?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel it to some extent. I've also been to a lot of some of the past conferences that TSA has put on that had more focus on some of the captive side of stuff. I grew up going to like all the Daytona turtle talks and getting to see some of the speakers from Europe come and share presentations on just keeping turtles, and really enjoyed those growing up. And I've seen a lot of good talks like that at TSA too, but it's definitely seems like more recently been greater focus on kind of the field work side of conservation. But I think both things have to kind of go hand in hand, and I'm a big proponent of like keeping in a very ethical, good way. Like just, there's no real way of saying that. I guess won't offend somebody, but yeah, like as me personally, I try to keep animals the way I've seen them in the wild, and as a biologist and ecologist, I like to see, all right, what are these animals keying into in the wild that makes them succeed in nature, and how can I kind of replicate that in a captive situation? And the reality is, a lot of these species, like, there's going to come a time where we better know how to keep them in captivity as well as how to prevent them from getting to that point. And so, yeah, I definitely, I don't see a way you can have one without the other. That's just my perspective on the whole thing. I've based projects like with diamondback terrapins on some of the, I started doing some head starting research at the GSTC, where I was looking up historical records, talking to Jordan about how some of the old turtle farms in like North Carolina were keeping terrapins, and how were they hatching 20,000 of them a year for reintroduction, and why can head starting not occur kind of on that same scale, and then coming up with ways to make that happen for certain species. It definitely helps with the highly fecund species that lay a bunch of eggs. So I don't know. I like to look at that, and I've started head starting programs with gopher tortoises for the same kind of reason. We were doing gopher tortoise relocation work in South Georgia, but there wasn't really a protocol at the time for how a biologist or a team needed to search for eggs. But the eggs were in the ground at the same time we were pulling juveniles and adults out. And I'm like, just let me start incubating these eggs that I'm able to find, and we can start an entire head starting operation that puts head starts out on these DNR properties that don't have many juveniles, or they've been kind of wiped out from farming practices or whatever over the years. Some of them are primed to have tortoises released back at them. So I try to think of it kind of in that way. How can the two things help each other
I love
instead
that.
of being so at odds?
There it is, right there.
Take.
Yeah, and I think people wonder, how do we continue to do that? Well, we talk to people and we network and we get our butts into areas that might not feel comfortable. And I have to give props. The symposium was insane. It was so great. And the folks from TSA made us feel so welcome, and they did such a great job. It was so professionally done and well done. It was awesome. But if I'm being honest, there were times where I'm like, okay, where do I fit here? Where does the private keeper fit here? And, you know, I left there, and the first thing I did when I left the symposium is call Russ Gurley. And I said, like, Russ, there's nothing I love more than your conference. It feels like coming home to be with my family. It's like, it is
Aw.
awesome to go there. You feel so welcomed, and everyone is there. And it's just, people are just there because of passion, you know? However, Russ, I feel like it's most important for people like me and maybe some others to make sure that the private side is represented at the symposium because of that. Because, you know, you might just pick a one year to go, like I did. That was my first time, and feel like, I don't know, it wasn't the same, and then write it off and not go for another 5-10 years, and then we're missing an opportunity to have a seat at the table. So and then in doing so, we get to converse with people like you, Lance, who are doing incredible work to really save species, but also have an understanding and a respect for what people on the other side are trying to do at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I just talked for a long time and didn't ask a question. So that's not a good way to host the show.
No,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
No,
Lance,
I
go with your thought, Lance, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
ask
go
a question.
first.
Lance
I
has
always-
something.
I was just gonna say that I was happy to see that you were there this year, Anthony, because that was kind of my perspective too. I was like, there should be prominent keepers here having like one-on-one conversations with people at this conference as well. And
I mean, yeah.
there's stuff that both sides can learn from each other for sure. I definitely have to tell myself sometimes like how I want to keep the two separate as far as how I approach conversations and stuff, because I can definitely be a full-blown ecologist and biologist that only talks about field stuff, but I enjoy the captive keeping of some species, certain species as well. So
Love it. Thank you, Lance.
Yeah.
Anyone in the chat, please let us know what you think about this. This is a nice, deep conversation. Emily, take it away.
Well, I mean, you actually just kind of drew the conclusion a little bit there yourself, or the connection rather. I wanted to draw a connection too between your work life and your keeping life. Do you feel like being a biologist and an ecologist and seeing the turtles real life firsthand in the wild helps improve your keeping skills? Do you apply anything that you learn about them in the wild specifically to the animals that you keep?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say it also focuses which species I'm even willing to try keeping. Because like currently I live in Wisconsin, not too far from Green Bay, actually. So it's very cold up here. And I am pretty much only taking on species that I can keep inside relatively easily. And I'm not going to work with anything in captive that requires a lot of outdoor space at the moment. Eventually, sure, maybe, but it kind of focuses me, I guess is how I'd say.
I see. What species do you keep at home? You mentioned monitor lizards before. I'm just throwing it out there. Do you have a monitor lizard?
Not anymore, but I kept
okay.
a lot of Australian dwarf monitors at one time, and Argus monitors. Those were a big fan of mine. So kept a lot of those in high school and college. So, but yeah, as far as turtles, I like a lot of weird, like just brown turtles. The Marimys genus is kind of my favorite thing at the moment. So yeah, they're not flashy, and I've caught flack from some turtle keepers from the what a boring species. But I've always liked pond turtles, doing field work with pond turtles and sliders, pseudomys, all the big stuff. But I don't want to keep those in like a small environment. So
I love Marimys. I really, really love Marimys. They're so great.
Yeah.
Sam said, "I'm so sorry you live in Wisconsin." Prayers.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
He has a way with words, Sam. You're
I
good.
love it. Yeah.
Good job, Sam. So, Emily, unless you have something else, maybe we switch gears to Madagascar.
That was on my list next, was to speak about Madagascar. So I'm going to take it away with a question about Madagascar. You mentioned you've been there a few times, and I think you said you started going in 2022, right?
Yep.
So you've been there a few times. You mentioned to us that you've been there about 6 times. And tell me about the first time you ever went there. Was it the first time you had traveled? Was it scary? Were you just too excited you couldn't bear it? Was it really a puddle jumper like Anthony said? I want to hear all about it.
Yes. Yes to all of those questions is the short answer. The first time, I tried to talk to people like Rick Hudson, who's been there umpteen times, knew the country inside and out, and traveling there. And he was like, you're going to see stuff that just you can't hardly comprehend, basically. Your American mind will not let you think about things the way that it's going to be when you get there. And just, I had never gone really anywhere that crazy far away. It was 5 flights just to get into the country, 36 hours of being on a plane. That was a big experience for me. And then I was working with my colleague Brett Bartek. He went with me this first trip. Awesome guy, amazing field biologist. And him and I got there, and you land in the capital city, and then it's like we had maybe 2 days in the capital, met the whole TSA Madagascar team, awesome group. And they scheduled pretty much all the logistics to get us from the plane down to the south on a pretty small prop plane. So you land in the south, and then you load up into a 4x4 truck and just take off, because you're on the road on the bounciest, most pothole roads I've ever been on in my life for like 10 hours that first day. And then it just keeps going, basically. Several days of travel once you're in the country in the south to get to where we're going. There's some of the most remote places in the world, I imagine. So yeah, it's a wild, crazy trip. The people are amazing. The resilience of the Malagasy people is impressive. Like, I have seen folks take apart the brakes of a truck with just like a rock. And meanwhile, if I was back here in Wisconsin, it would take a body shop like days with a press to pop it open and repair it and everything. So that was crazy, seeing just there's no such thing as an excuse. They find a way to make it work. And the whole TSA Madagascar program is a testament to that, because these centers that have 25,000 tortoises in them are just sprang up in the middle of nowhere, basically. And the local community started working with them, and really the partnership there is incredible to see. We had all sorts of stuff like zebu sacrifices, goat sacrifices that first trip, just dance parties and stuff, where it's a lot of team building sort of exercises in remote Madagascar. So it's crazy, incredible.
Have you been there this year with the flooding at all?
Yeah, so I was actually the first of 3 teams that went over there back in March, right after the 3 different cyclones hit and flooded the LTC. And that was, I've had some rough experiences on the road in past trips, the 5 previous trips, but that one definitely topped it as far as just places being nearly impassable, constant logistical challenges. Getting stuck on the road is just par for the course. So here, it's a challenge. What would have been about a 6-hour drive, I think, took us 34 hours across 2 days to give you an idea of just
Wow.
bouncing
Yeah.
down 4x4. Like, it's rough. And that trip I was there with rider Kevin Gepford. He followed me on the trip, and we had an amazing time. But he got to experience everything Madagascar has to offer, the good, the bad, just all of it in about a 5-week period. So
wow. Do you have any recent plans, or I'm sorry, any plans soon to go back?
So our schedule is kind of about every 6 months we go over there to download data from. We have a set of tortoises that have equipment on them, and part of the equipment is GPS loggers that I designed and built. So either myself or Brett will usually lead a team, and we go collect the data from the GPS loggers, download it, and then they're good to go for about another 6 months. So the next trip should be March or April of 26.
Oh, okay. That was actually going to be my next question, is what is it that you're doing primarily when you're there? So it's a lot of collecting data.
Yeah, so TSA they have their own field teams that do all the radio tracking of these tortoises. So basically the whole idea is we have all these tortoises in the centers, and what is the best way to get them back out into the wild? And we want to make sure when we pick a site that they can be placed back out. It seems like poaching's not a big threat, predators aren't a big threat. We can put them out there and then monitor how they're doing for a couple years after release to ensure, yes, this is a good place. We're not just throwing them out there and wishing them the best sort of thing. So we go and we help out the TSA Madagascar team do the tracking, find tortoises. They spread out all over the place, collect the data, and kind of come back.
That's really interesting. I'm going to just answer a question in the chat. And anyone else could chime in if they want, and then I want to go right back to Madagascar. So, do you think we should be able to have any species of turtles as long as they're captive bred? So, if that was possible, to know that they were captive bred for sure, then yes. But we have to be careful about the guise of captive breeding and the negative impact that it can have on species conservation and protecting endangered species. And I'll give you an example. I think that in the last 12 years, Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles, Spangleri, this is the example I always go to in my mind, have been bred in vastly larger numbers than they were beforehand, over the last decade, 12 years or so, than they ever were before. Right? There's probably as many produced like in any given year now than there was in a 10-year span 10 or 15 years ago. So what that means is that they're now being smuggled into the country more now than ever, and they're being sold as captive bred even though they're not actually being captive bred. So that's the problem there. So I love the idea. Yes, in a perfect world, if we knew animals were captive bred, that would be great. But this is part of the problem when you have a species like that still has a good, that's very desirable. It actually makes it harder when they're captive bred.
Enforcement, documentation, all that, there's never such an easy answer to any question like that. I have to be honest, I kept focusing on the spelling error in that comment.
Me too.
Because it reminds me of a meme. And I'm sure you've all seen the meme of the bread-shaped turtle. And that's where my mind kept going as I was seeing that question. I have to admit.
The turtle-shaped bread.
Adorable.
Yes, the turtle-shaped bread.
Yeah.
Alex brings us right back, and this is actually something that I was thinking
Great
about
stuff.
as Lance was talking about this. Alex brings us right back in. So what kinds of electronic skills did you need to learn to develop that GPS data logger? And tell us a little bit about that technology, as far as you can without getting too in-depth technically, or also, giving away some secrets.
Sure. So basically, my master's project was built around coming up with a cost-effective way to track gopher tortoises. So we started taking cat and dog commercial like GPS loggers, taking them apart, putting new components in them, and then trying to make ways that the tortoises wouldn't just destroy the equipment immediately in the field. So I did a lot of trial and error working with those, and I don't really have any sort of degree in that. I'm just a tinkerer, basically. So yeah.
Are there degrees for GPS data loggers? Is that
not specifically, but there's electronics and electrical engineering and electronics design and
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much if you're real motivated, you can figure out how to do all sorts of stuff. Looking up YouTube videos and reading papers on what other people have done. So that's kind of where a lot of it's come from for me. And then talking to other biologists in the field, like what problems they're having. I try to come up with creative ways to solve problems that field biologists have. And that's kind of
we lost Anthony. We'll get him back.
I have a question, but I know that I'm sure you have to be really delicate answering this. And you mentioned it a little bit before. So when you're looking for a type of habitat for the radiateds, obviously, like we mentioned, I'm not looking for coordinates here, but overall, generally, what types of things are you taking into consideration? So you mentioned predators and accessibility for poachers, stuff like that.
Yeah. So TSA has a community engagement person that goes around to a lot of these different potential sites. Maybe we look online with aerial imagery to identify large tracts of habitat that might be good, and then they go to those locations to see kind of a ground truth the habitat, and also talk to the local communities there, because that plays a major part as well.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as habitat for radiata, they're pretty much generalists for southern Madagascar. I've found them in a lot of different habitats there. There's also a lot of agricultural lands where in the US we might think of them as like modified pastures, because they're grazing zebu and they're grazing goats in them part of the year, but the other part of the year they're not used as heavily for that. So you see tortoises just wandering around amongst tombs and little villages and stuff. It's pretty incredible. But we like to see large intact tracts of spiny forest habitat. That's a major thing. And then when we put tortoises in there depends largely on the timing of the rainy season, because you want the tortoises to have food available when they're able to disperse, and that just helps the whole process go over better.
Mm-hmm.
Really random question. Are the zebu introduced to Madagascar? Are they farmed? Are they?
I mean, there are more zebu than people in Madagascar. There's like 30 million zebu or something. So I don't know if they're different from the mainland Africa zebu. They're small.
Yeah, I just quick did a Google, and it says zebu are native to Asia, and I'm like, Madagascar is not Asia.
Yeah, they're all over Africa too, from what I hear.
Interesting.
So, and then lots of little ruminants, the goats, sheep, everywhere. I have woken up from my tent there at our field sites with every possible farm animal right outside my tent door. So it's always crazy.
You know, Steve, he was saying zebu. He said that a handful of times now, and I just accepted it. I was like, okay, zebu are in Madagascar. I just
curious if you knew the answer to that question. I was just like, huh. I'm like, what's a zebu again? So I quick Googled it, and I'm like,
I was like, that's a thing.
And I was like, I could see them possibly have becoming like a farmed animal that, he mentioned his zebu sacrifice. I'm like, maybe they farm them. Maybe they're not running loose. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the zebu in the Malagasy culture, basically, they're like the banking system.
Okay.
So a family of the patriarch of the family will have sons of different ages, and when they're, I don't know, maybe 4 to 8 years old, usually their job is to like herd the zebu around. Their fences are mostly cactus fences. They're kind of like hedgerows, but just made out of Opuntia cactus all over the place. So these kids, you'll see 4, 5, 6-year-olds walking down the street with just a stick, herding 20 zebu down the road, and they know to take them back and forth between like the little paddocks in the evening, and then out into the grazing habitat.
Yeah.
So.
What's wrong with my name, Steve?
Oh, nothing. So Chris Drake had a great comment over here, and somebody else followed as well. I'm going to go with Chris first. He said, what do you see the tortoises in the wild eating as a staple that we might not be giving them in captivity?
Those are good questions. Yeah.
Everything. I have not found a lot that radiata seem to avoid. Like I said before, the Opuntia cactus is absolutely everywhere. There's some type of, looks like an introduced grass species that's just kind of all over the place as well. I see them eating that as well. In the dry season, we see them eating the cactus fruit. So there's one called red radiata. Makes them look like they've just been chowing down on a carcass or something. Their whole face is
fantastic.
covered in red cactus juice. They really seem to like that. Sweet potato leaves, I don't see a lot of keepers in the U.S. using those, but that's one of the primary forage items that are offered to them at the centers. They seem to go crazy on sweet potato day, and lots and lots of spineless Opuntia.
That's really interesting. I remember talking to Michael Ogle about Opuntia cactus and how it's so available in Madagascar, but that it's an invasive or introduced species, so they didn't evolve eating that, but they do eat it now.
Yeah, and I think it's by like they have to. There's just not that much vegetation in the spiny forest. Seems like the last several years the droughts have gotten worse and worse in southern Madagascar. So even when the rains should show up, they don't necessarily show up equally across the range of radiata. And when that happens, they're just kind of eating whatever they can find at that point. We see them eating the octopus trees, the tiny little green leaves off of those when there's nothing else green for miles. That's crazy. They are true survivors, though. They can deal with some extremes.
I'm sorry, I made it 35 years thinking it was pronounced Optunia, and this is the first time I've ever heard anyone say it out loud. And I'm trying to be cool, but my life has just been turned upside down. So the other question in the chat was, what is your biggest takeaway for improving captive care? So I've seen a variety of ways that people are taking care of radiated tortoises in captivity, but I mean, you're seeing what their life is like firsthand. Do you have any tips for us?
I mean, I guess it would kind of help to see how somebody specifically was keeping them, but I know I've seen them scaling inclines along the coast that just blow my mind, like 45 degrees, slippery little pebbles, and they're going up like a tank. They don't even slow down. I've seen them eating like tree nuts of some variety along the coast as well, which looked basically like an acorn. That surprised me. I would have to dig deeper. I don't know what other people are seeing them doing over there, but they're pretty much generalists. I've seen them just chowing down on piles of white rice that are cooked and left over where they're fighting chickens for the food. So
That's really interesting.
I think some people, because of their value, like in the pet trade, they think, oh, I got to keep them on flat areas without necessarily crazy stuff for them to climb around on. And I think their life is a struggle. Like navigating the spiny forest is not an easy thing. And some of the rocky outcrops that they traverse it'll give you a whole new appreciation for what a tortoise like that can navigate over and around. So I think a lot of people underestimate them, what they can do. And
yeah, it probably lends itself to that survivalist mindset of eating as well. Like, oh, I found this thing, it's edible, let me eat it. Like almost like we think of with box turtles and subtropical forest tortoises, where you think, oh, they'll eat anything, right? Just because everything's there. It's, I think, in some ways, for maybe the exact opposite reason, there's nothing there, so they'll eat whatever they come across.
Yeah, and then when the rains come, there's everything greens up. It's incredible. Right. Like a desert in the southeast or southwest U.S., it just explodes with vegetation and doesn't even look like the same place at all.
Yeah.
And they take advantage of that. You see crazy growth lines when the rains come. Like they put on a lot of growth really quickly when that happens.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can you
it's
tell us
probably the most difficult thing for a captive keeper to try to replicate is that changing of seasons in some ways. Like we probably don't make it lush enough to replicate the spring, and we never make it dry enough to replicate the dry season, I bet.
Yeah,
just
well,
for animals in general.
In that part of Madagascar, it's not, even when it rains a lot, the sun comes out and it dries out very quick. Very sandy soil, very rocky in a lot of areas. And it's just, I think some people imagine what the habitat looks like. And I had a certain image in my head before I went there the first time of what looks like good tortoise habitat for that. And it'll surprise you, basically. It's kind of my takeaway.
I think that's a reminder on, it's one thing to see pictures of a habitat or something, but when you get to experience it with your other four senses as well, instead of just seeing pictures, you feel it, you touch it, you smell, like you add all that in, and you just get a whole new appreciation for the challenges or whatever the habitat has to offer compared to what you thought you knew from a picture or two, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super valuable seeing the actual places that these animals come from.
Yeah. All right, we've got 5 of 8. We're having a great time tonight. We have time to do a little more chatting, a little more exploring Madagascar. So.
Well, at the beginning of your introduction, you talked about some crazy stories from Madagascar. I have got to hear some of those. Yeah?
Yep, right? I was just about to say the same thing. Emily, we are on the same page tonight.
Yes.
Funny. Yeah, tell us about the human side. Like, as a writer myself, if I ever went to Madagascar, I'd want to write a book about it. I'm going out with an expert like Lance, and I'm seeing what Lance does, and I'm writing about those bumpy roads, and I'm writing about the things we see from my little tiny uncultured American brain, not being able to fathom what I'm seeing. So what does some of that look like?
Honestly, it's a lot of, it's almost an emotional roller coaster for me. I've gotten better with thinking about it, because you drive through portions of southern Madagascar, it always pops up in the top 10 most impoverished countries in the world. So you drive through areas where people have literally nothing, like in the cities where it's cardboard boxes is their house, basically, or maybe not even that, and little small stick huts along the way. You drive through miles and miles of that, and when you get to some of these super remote places, the people are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Like, honestly, they will give you the shirt off their back if they were asked for it to help you out. Like if your truck breaks down on the road somewhere, you may think that you're miles from the nearest person, and like some little kid will pop up out of a bush, yell something at you, and then be gone for 5 minutes, and then show up with like 20 guys that are going to push your vehicle out of a crazy mud hole. And just stuff like that just happens constantly on the road. I don't even know what the experience of being able to be involved with like the sacrificial zebu blessing, basically to bless the building that TSA helped fund. There's a school in one of the communities that they helped fund with a partnership with the community. So seeing that happen firsthand and being offered like the hump of the zebu as a gift, basically, as an honored person to be there and experience that. It's so surreal and hard to explain, I think, adequately.
That's really cool.
But having those experiences has made me put so much more emphasis on the community engagement side of this being a success, like reintroducing Radiata. So I think that's super valuable. If the people in those areas are not behind it, it's not going to be long-term like a good thing to be doing. But building those connections is invaluable.
I work with animal people all the time that say, I got into this field because I love animals more than I love people. Ha ha ha. But you come to realize in these fields that if you can't figure out the people piece, you're not going to be successful. Can you talk to us about that, Lance? You've been going now for several years. Have you seen any change or progress being made in terms of public perception? My, again, uncultured American brain, I try to stay up on what's happening and all that, but my understanding was it was always taboo to mess with the tortoises, to eat the tortoises, to take the tortoises for a lot of the local people. But that changed at some point for some people when you realize the amount of money that the tortoises could go for. And then, I mean, because you could feed your family for a couple bucks and the tortoises go for a good amount of money, compared to the cost of living. So have you seen any change in any of that? And is anything that I said wrong?
No, I mean, you're definitely, you're on the right track for sure. There are people that that taboo that you're talking about is so strong. The Fadi is, from my observation, some of these communities that we work with, those people would starve to death before harm a tortoise, like far and away. That would be the reception. But then there are other just because travel's become so much easier in recent years, they're improving roads and stuff. You have outsiders coming in from different parts, maybe the big cities in Madagascar, where they don't have those sorts of restrictions on how they treat wildlife. And typically those are the things that you try to watch out for, because some communities are very much, no, we don't want anything to do with strangers coming into our area, taking our tortoises, stealing them. And then there are other parts where it's more acceptable, and figuring out where those lines in the sand are that's what TSA Madagascar's conservation teams is working to determine, because it really makes all the difference.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
That's a great conversation. I absolutely love this. If anyone else has any questions for Lance, please pop them in the chat. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having you on. Before, or I should say, as we start winding down towards the end here, Steve, would you mind telling us what you've learned about Zebu behind the scenes, and then also let us know.
A picture.
Also, let us know about the last bit of housekeeping we had to touch on before we adjourn as well.
Yeah, so you guys know me. I can get pretty curious at times. And so I was like, okay, so they're apparently native to the Asia area, but apparently they've got a long lore in Madagascar. So I was like, what is up with the zebu? Apparently they were introduced from India more than 1,000 years ago. And so, like, literally there's an ancient history because they were introduced like sometime in the first millennia AD. So anyway, technically introduced, but long enough that nobody would really know because it's like literally hundreds of generations ago. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
It's also a reminder of just how much humans have impacted the environment, not just today, but over time. Like a number of our species in the US are from like one of the birds we all get like bored of, right? The starling, right?
Yeah.
We're like the starling. Well, apparently the first European settlers missed the starling, so they imported it. And that's why we got European starlings everywhere. They missed the starling and were like, let's bring them here. And poof, starlings everywhere. So anyway, just a reminder, it's nothing new. Humans have been taking animals from one place to another even before we could sail beyond using wind. So
There's so many. I was just looking up to some of the large tortoise species. We talked about the one that was native to Florida, the size of Galapagos tortoises, but there was also a massive tortoise that went extinct like 10,000 years ago from Asia, I believe. That was like the largest tortoise species. I was just reading about this, but they went extinct like, in the Pleistocene, like very, very recently, 10,000 years ago. Like just a little blip on the radar in terms of, Anyway. Okay, Steve, housekeeping. Hit us with it.
Yeah, here.
I'm so nervous.
Or hit us with a photo of a zebu because
I'm so nervous.
That's not what I was expecting it to look like. Or the other thing, whichever.
All right.
That's not a
y'all
zebu.
should be seeing this. It's not a zebu. We're going with the next housekeeping item. We've got the next calendar. Is available for pre-order. As always, save $1 by pre-ordering. Rest of the calendar still being put together. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for everybody. And
how much is that?
So
$46?
No, 16 if you're getting it now. 17 later.
That's a good deal. Nothing costs $16. I can't get Taco Bell for $16 anymore.
I mean, inflation, we are trying to keep inflation from hitting your turtle calendar.
I love it.
Anywho, our partner this year is the Angkor Center for Conservation of Biodiversity. For those who don't know where Angkor is, it's in Cambodia. It's the site of an old dig site, etc. It's there's a lot of religious and cultural history in that area, and so anyway, they do a lot of great turtle work. We've gotten to know Crystal Griffin, who runs a bunch of their programs over the last many years. I think I met her at my first TSA conference a decade ago. Anyway, Crystal's great. The people over there are great. For our European friends, we might have a way for you to get calendars in Europe without having to ship them across the pond. More on that in coming days. Check the page in the future. I'm not sure about the availability for them shipping wise yet, but it's something we're considering and we're working on. And so anyway, European folks, we might have a turtle calendar for you that's a little cheaper for shipping this year. Yeah.
This is the 13th calendar? If I'm doing
the
right?
First one was
2014.
2014. Yeah.
So this will be the 13th one.
Yep. This will be the 13th calendar produced. Yes.
That's cool. I like, we keep these things going, We've been doing the Pondcast now since 2012, and the first calendar was 2014. We've been doing this stuff for a while. Like one day you just look up and realize you're old. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. Meanwhile, Lance was a sophomore in college when my wife and I got married. So
yeah. Emily wasn't born yet.
What?
She's not that young.
I'm not that young.
I'm just kidding. Emily looks way younger than she is.
I do. It's true. I actually snuck my age in by accident today. I talked.
Oh,
Yeah. What was I saying?
I don't know.
Oh, when I was talking about Optunia cactus.
Oh,
Listen, Lance, we have enough time for one more crazy story from Madagascar. I'm hoping you've got a slammer here. I want
You're
to hear
putting pressure.
more stories.
you're
Yeah.
putting pressure on Lance. Lance, you don't
Yeah.
have to do it.
Oh man.
He thought he was off the hook. He was ready to go get a coffee.
Yeah. So, all right. So, well, maybe not a crazy story, but a funny story nonetheless. So we were tracking I think it was the first group of radiated tortoises. We were tracking 45 animals or something. And we're near where the pen originally was. And I was super focused on like finding this tortoise hiding under a clump of like the dead octopus tree that had fallen over. And wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing. And then this sifaka just started screaming right above my head. And I thought he was going to jump out of it. So sifakas are the big lemurs that kind of hop around dancing. My wife calls them zaboomafoom, if you guys are aware.
Yep.
But all right, so those guys, one just started screaming about 5-6 feet above my head because I was not paying attention to my surroundings. I was looking for the tortoise, and he started yelling, and that about scared the mess out of me. And all of the community guys that were tracking with us thought it was hilarious. They were rolling over in the sand laughing, but I thought it was a good time. So
That's a good one.
Those darn lemurs, they're so interesting and incredible, and they're only on Madagascar. There's so many reasons to love them. But every time I watch a nature documentary on Madagascar, I have to watch lemurs and not the amazing tortoises that live there, because it's always lemurs. So it's kind of like how we feel with our freshwater turtles and tortoises, always having to hear about sea turtles all the time. Not that we don't love them, but it's like, these amazing species that nobody knows about.
I thought it was cool that Tennessee Aquarium now has that exhibit with lemurs and radiata together. That was cool.
Yeah, the Bronx Zoo has one too, with birds and lemurs and radiata.
Yep.
It's really impressive to see these large habitats where they can cohabitate different animals. Like that from across the spectrum.
It's not like it's not fake at all. Like they literally come in contact constantly in the wild. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Full circle. It all comes together.
Lemurs, at least. Yeah, the ringtails and the sifakas. Yeah.
Yeah, the ringtails and I think that's what they had at the Bronx is
probably
the
ringtails.
I saw a bunch of lemurs, but the ringtails were the ones that were in with the radiata.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks so much for joining. This was a really fun chat, and young kids grow up to be like Lance and everyone that helped Lance along the way. I saw some of you in the chat. Thank you for doing that. Everyone that's helped us along the way. Thank you so much. That's what it's all about, is reaching out, helping people, connecting, and doing everything that we can. Chris, last question. Is anyone doing work there with the plowshare, like with the radiateds, the other species in the genus?
So Darrell does the majority of the work with plowshares in Madagascar right now. So TSA is working on it, but they're still in the early stages. So, yeah.
It's awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
guys. Till next time.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks again, man. Glad to have you on. And we'll have to do this again sometime, not long after you've been there, and just get a fresh update, tell a fun story. I think that'd be a good time.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Love y'all. Deuces.
Thanks, Lance. Bye, everybody.